I forgot your name already.
Burke is fine.
Burke, thank you. Thank you for coming from so far just to speak here. I appreciate your comments, but while we have you here, we have heard a lot in this committee about the success, the recent success in literacy improvements in elementary schools in Mississippi. And apparently this is only one part of your whole overhaul.
Yes.
Can you just briefly, like in a sentence or so, tell me what year you started and what heights you've achieved so far?
Sure. The law was passed in 2013. Our promotion retention component went into effect 2015. We began with our NAEP scores. We were really right there with Mississippi in 2013. I believe Louisiana was at 210, Mississippi was at 209. And so in the 6 years that has passed, Mississippi met the national average at 219, and Louisiana is now still at the scale score of 210, the same that they were 6 years ago. During that time, our supports included some of the things that you all were mentioning earlier. Our state assessment is more aligned to NAEP. We had professional development in the science of reading, some of those things that you passed last year.
I'm glad you said that because I forgot I brought my green tea packets.
Professional development for teachers, literacy coaches in classrooms, continued support for parents, engagement for parents, read at home resources, and also our screening assessment system, identifying kids early, screening them 3 times a year to keep our pulse on those students who are identified as having reading difficulty. And it was really just a comprehensive approach to support of our state chief, who's retiring, and I'm really sad about that. Support of our state chief, our legislature, and also
the debate
our
side
Well, that'd be quite an accomplishment for someone who's retiring to take with him. But thank you for your comments, and I'd like to move favorably on this at the appropriate time.
Give it to Dejanay.
Thank you. We do have a question, Representative Jefferson.
Thank you so much for coming, and please don't tell our colleagues the things we've said.
I heard you earlier, but it's okay.
But congratulations, and thank you for what you bring to the table, and thank you for coming today to enlighten us. Just 2 quick questions. How did you use in this process, because I know there were several moving parts, how big was the community involvement in making this quantum leap like you've done? And then secondly, who gave you, or what entities gave you the most pushback in this particular area?
Because
I always say that my first 2 years of being state literacy director was PR.
Still,
we had to go to the communities. There were a lot of parents who didn't understand why there was a retention component, who wanted to just know, are teachers ready, or are our school districts ready? Because for so long, our school districts were not supporting children in getting there, especially children of color. So I believe that initially the biggest group that really needed that type of conversation was our parents. And so we specifically, as the Department of Education, had what we call roadshows. So we went out to different communities, talked to parents, answered questions, about how we would support children, how we would support teachers. So a big piece of this is that not just we want children reading by the end of 3rd grade.
Once we all turn, once people start turning 18, everybody started using those IDs if they were 17 to go.
Communicated. So a big communications effort is also what we implemented at the department to ensure that we were getting the right messages out.
I mean, I was still
more proactive than reactive in doing that.
Thank you so much, and again, congratulations. Tell all my friends over there hello.
Would never have let that happen.
Thank you. Representative Owen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Representative Nelson. Thank you, ma'am, for coming. I just want to do something that's be off-putting. I'm going to quote Barack Obama. Okay. He said, "Literacy is currency," and that's what we have to head towards. And I'm proud of what y'all have done. So thank you for coming, and thank you, Representative Nelson.
Thank you, Representative Owen. Representative Tarver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you so much, man, for being here. And I'm going to quote somebody. I don't know who it is. But they said, you learn to read through 3rd grade so that you can read to learn after that. And you guys are evidently practicing that extensively. So this is how do you go about getting it launched and getting, we have a thing where we passed a deal to get books in the homes of children, because this was like one of them wow moments. My buddy back there is always giving me wow moments, but I thought one day when we were talking about that it's foreign to me that there are not books in homes.
Right.
But did you do something like we did where you put a program in place to get books in the homes of children that don't have it? Is that a piece of it, or?
We did not have a book distribution program at that time. Mississippi is considering something like that right now.
Would you think that would be a good thing to do?
I do. I also think that parents must have some type of support or training or modules or things like that to really make the most of those moments, because it's not just reading to children. You know, we can listen to Mozart. That doesn't mean that we'll be able to play like him, right? So what reading to children does is that it allows them to be exposed to the ways in which they should read with fluently. They can read with expression, or they know how to use the punctuation marks to stop, or inflection to ask questions. All of those things are great, and it's great to engage parents with their children that way, but it's also great for parents to really encourage their children to read to them. That is how their parents know if their children are using these cues, if they're just looking at pictures, trying to understand the words. So it has to be a process where the children are just as engaged in the parents with the process. And I stand behind the read to your children 20 minutes a day, but it's really read with your children, and that process needs to go both ways.
What about if the parents are insecure in their ability to read? Can they recognize that the child is having difficulty also if they're having, what do you do in that case?
I think for most parents, you know, for us to be able to, again, it's about just communicating certain things. So parents, if your children are really relying heavily on pictures, you know, then you need to make sure that you're talking to your child's teacher. You guys, it is so important for there to be communication with the child's teacher and the parent. The parent is going to be around that child at the dinner table and all these other places.
So you say parents and teachers have got to be interacting, and it's very important that they get this done at an early age.
Yes.
Question for Mr. Nelson. Is there like I know you said it takes effect in 23 or something like that, but like, do you can't take a third grader who's already in the third grade and put him in this kind of box? I mean, do you start with kindergarten classes and then they get held back?
None of the shoes are the same sizes.
Where do you kind of start the train rolling?
I have a 9.5 on the shoes. I wear an 8.
Well, for Mississippi, it was 2 years for us, and again, during those 2 years, so it was kind of that
So like
first
kids
grade
in the
class.
first grade,
It was that
But
first
all the
really
soda ones are
the people
two
that, or
size.
the children that are impacted really are the or judged or whatever are
That's
the
all I
ones in
really
the
buy is
first
the
grade.
soda.
Yes.
Children in the third grade right now wouldn't be.
Oh, no,
That's why I get it.
no, that's why you give a runway.
Gotcha.
It's like a 2-year
Thank you. I
runway.
appreciate y'all's time and appreciate the bill. Did someone move favorably yet?
Yes, thank you, and members, we got a lot of bills left. Remember to stay in the confines of the bill. Representative Brass.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have a few questions. I'm trying to go through it quick because I guess it looks like it's about to fly out of here, but I do have some concerns.
The what?
Because at the end of the day, I don't think we're comparing apples to apples as far as Louisiana school system compared to Mississippi, even though we're working to become an apple. I don't think we're there yet. So, couple quick questions. What is Mississippi doing in reference to early childhood development?
Well, we have a pre-K program. We have what's called early learning collaborative.
As far as from 0 to 3. As far
I'm
as
sorry.
birth to 3.
Birth to 3,
Yes.
we do not have a comprehensive program from the state agency regarding birth to 3. Our programs begin
trying to be like a
with our Early
knockoff
Learning
Golden
Collaborative
Goose?
Act, beginning with 4-year-olds, whether they are in public, private, Head Start. There are, I think, approximately 20 early learning collaboratives now. They just approved, I believe, 7 more, where there's a partnership with the elementary school and also these pre-K or Head Start programs to ensure that those children who are leaving 4-year-old programs are prepared when they get to kindergarten. They take a kindergarten readiness assessment, and what we've shown is that our students who are in those collaboratives outperform our schools that are not, our children who are not in
Western
those
wear?
collaboratives. And we just received, I believe, a couple of days ago, there was a news release that Mississippi is now still one of the top 5 states in the country
I
for
think
their
it was
pre-K
because
program, meeting all 10
the Garth
indicators
Brooks
of
concert,
linear
every
indicators for
well,
the report
a
for
lot
every
of stores
child.
have
So
started
what are you
bringing
guys
that
doing
into
as far as
because I guess
remedies once they
concert
take
season.
that
Because there have been a lot of concerts,
kindergarten,
like country concerts, right?
assessment. What type of remedies are you guys
Yeah,
implementing?
so the same model that we have in K-3 is the model that we have in our early learning collaboratives. There are early childhood coaches, there's a recommended curriculum that they must be using, there's screeners. I mean, all of these things that are part of the comprehensive approach. There are parent academies for parents, we have parent resources. So anything that I've talked about for kindergarten through third grade, we did the exact same model for pre-K. We do have our Office of Early Childhood, again with early childhood
So
coaches.
you guys are
working the
moving in
same
the
thing.
direction as far as from birth all the way to fourth grade. So
Well, yeah.
another quick question: what's as far as teacher salaries? Where are you guys compared to Louisiana's average?
Well, I'm not sure about what Louisiana's average for teacher salaries was, but I heard someone say yesterday, and I know that in the state, we just increased salaries by, I believe, $5,000 for the base pay for teachers
So
in
you guys are
Mississippi.
you're Apple in that category also. What was it? As far as demographic breakdown for fourth graders that's being held back or not being allowed to progress, what's the demographic
So
breakdown?
for third graders?
Yes.
So our retention component is
Yes.
at third grade. So from 2015 to 2018, our students had to score above a level 1. So a cut score, of course, would be something that that the department would have to determine. Each year, our retention rate decreased. We had 3,000 out of about 37,000 in 2015. By 2018, that number was at 1,285, fewer than less than 5% of our students.
What'd you say?
In
So
20
black to white, black to white.
Oh, I'm not sure about the breakdown. I can get that for you, but I'm not sure about the breakdown. But as far as our Mississippi and Florida are in the top 10 states in the country for Black student achievement on the fourth grade.
Another quick question: what type of system program do you guys have implemented as far as identifying disabilities? For example, my daughter, she's dyslexic.
Yep.
She wasn't identified to the fourth grade, so students may fall through the crack
He's gonna be in
from
there for a while.
kindergarten to fourth, fifth grade. So what type of measures are you guys implementing or have implemented to identify kids earlier at before they get to the third grade?
We have separate dyslexia legislation. We have dyslexia
what?
legislation for dyslexia screener. All students must be screened twice at the end of their kindergarten year and also at the beginning of first grade to identify students who may have characteristics of dyslexia.
Last question
That's like
for the
my
author: what's the
siblings, like, they
current
were all, like, just kind of naturally smart,
requirements
like,
for
stupid.
a kid to be held back at the third grade?
So
Compared
that
to
would
my
be,
siblings, like, it
what
takes
she's
me
talking about is
forever
the
to
cut
learn
score. I
things.
mean, currently without the bill or currently in the bill?
Without the bill.
I mean, without the bill, I don't think that there is anything to be held back. I mean, maybe you can take a LEAP test, but I think that those requirements were abolished. So, maybe it's if they fail across the board, they can be held back. But so reading is not, your ability to read is not something that will hold you back on and of itself.
Okay, thank you, Representative Brass. We do have some cards in opposition and information that want to speak. For information purposes wanting to speak, we have Dr. Janet Pope from Louisiana School Board Association
I had to-
and Mr. Michael Fault from the Louisiana Association of School Superintendents. He
I
waves.
didn't.
And I think Dr. Pope is not here. We do have